Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be part 1 to What If Asta Had Time Magic. Now, just like in my What If Asta Had Dark Magic, this is pretty much just going to be what if Asta wasn't hated by magic and got some certain type of ability. Now this one, it's going to be time magic. So, just like pretty much all magic users, Asta can actually use his magic in the form of chronostasis before he gets his like actual grimoire. Like that's kind of just like the ability he would actually just have. So chronostasis is the ability that Julius actually used just to like kind of like in my picture here. That's kind of just like what he's doing with that. So Asta has pretty much time magic, so let's jump right into it. So, Asta would still be training the same that he does in the original, where he like physically trains his body really, really hard and like a lot of the time, just so like, because he still wants to become the Wizard King, and now that he has magic, he has even more drive to be able to become stronger and become, pretty much just powerful. So, this would also drive to become stronger because they have a stronger rivalry. I don't know why I can't say that word, but you know what I'm trying to say. And that would cause Yuno to have to train to get stronger too, because he doesn't want Asta surpassing him. So, Asta, I'm gonna say, is a little bit stronger than Yuno is, just because time magic is like really, really overpowered, because pretty much all of its abilities literally just like are, unless you don't want to kill the person, they're just like one-shot kills, like age the person until they turn to dust or make them like a baby kind of a thing. So like time magic's really overpowered, especially once Asta gets his grimoire. So obviously when they do go to get their grimoires, Asta would get one, but kind of just like how Julius's is, it's a weird kind of grimoire. It's that giant like it's not giant, it's like a circular grimoire that has like a bunch of like pages flowing throughout it, and the wizard that's actually at the tower is just like, that's very similar to what the Wizard King has, just not exactly to the same extent because it's not as big. So all the pages hadn't really been like filled out yet, or haven't been filled out yet obviously, because he has to be able to learn new spells, so most of the pages are just blank. So everybody's looking at this and they're like, what the is that? Because they don't know that Asta has time magic, obviously, so they just kind of think that this kid has some really weird grimoire without a cover, and it's just kind of like, the thing about the time magic grimoire is that it's literally endless. It's just infinite amount of pages. That's why it has a circular form instead of like a set amount of pages with like a cover and a back. So Asta would eventually have infinite amounts of pages. So with that, he obviously is going to become very, very powerful, just kind of like how Julius is. Obviously, he's not as strong as Julius is right now, because Asta doesn't have the same he doesn't have the same experience and strength, or he probably is pretty much just as strong as the Wizard King in terms of physical strength, but in terms of actually using his magic and unlocking different spells, Asta isn't really anywhere near the Wizard King. So, obviously everybody gets their grimoires and everybody heads home, and Asta and Yuno are beginning their training for going to the Magic Knights exam thingy mabobber majigger. They're pretty much training, so when they go to the royal capital, they can become Magic Knights, obviously. So they begin that training, and Asta doesn't have a sword because there's nobody really. There's no way he can actually like get a sword, unless maybe I'll give him a spell later on that gives him a sword. But for right now, Asta doesn't have a sword. So when he's training, he's just training by using his magic like a ton, like making like 30 chronostasis at one time, just like seeing what his limit to his ability is. So when they do end up heading to the going through the forest and getting to the royal capital, that goes pretty similarly, because having time magic wouldn't really help all that much. Well, obviously, well, it would help, but they just pretty much just get their food easier, but they don't really get there any sooner. So, when they do end up getting to the royal capital and get to the area where they're supposed to be doing their little exam selection thingy, I need to look up what that's called. I think I'm just going to call it a selection exam. So, the Magic Knight selection exams, they begin that, and Asta and Yuno both can fly. Asta really easily, Yuno also really easily, so they both fly really easily. So, next is a projectile, and Asta has a time beam, which is one of the spells in his grimoire, and it pretty much completely decimates his target. Not in the way that, like, it explodes or anything like that, but he just ages it to the point where it doesn't exist anymore. So that's the time beam can either age something back or age something forward. So Asta goes through all of the different exams, and he and Yuno pretty much ace every single one of the exams. And then they get to the point where they are doing the fighting exam in the end for battle ability. And Asta, instead of challenging Seke, he would actually get challenged by a noble. And this noble pretty much had the intent of pretty much giving it to Asta, or not giving it, but like telling Asta that even though you're a lowly commoner, or even though you have time magic, you're still a lonely commoner, and I'm going to wreck you because I'm a noble and I have much greater power than you. But obviously that's not how it goes, because, you know, Asta has time magic, and he could have pretty much beaten anybody in that exams other than, like, Yuno at that point. So he obviously easily manages to take down this noble, and I'm gonna say the noble had, he had lightning magic. And it's not the one that was fighting Yuno, but he does have lightning magic. And this noble gets really easily wrecked. Asta just uses chronostasis on his lightning and shoots a beam at the noble's arm, pretty much aging it to the point where he, like, can't move it at all. Like, it's, like, pretty much, like, old, like, it's really old, wrinkled, and, like, almost about to, like, fall off his arm. Like, he has, like, a zombie arm at this point. And Asta does this to both of the guy's arms. And everybody in the crowds are just like, this is bad, he's gonna actually kill him at this rate. And now, once Asta was decided the victor, Asta uses his time beam once again to revert the noble's arms back to normal by using his time beam to reverse time on the guy's arms, pretty much. So, when he does that, when Yuno still fights the same person he fights usually, and when the hands are, like, or the captains are choosing the people, Yuno still gets all hands raised. But Asta, he doesn't just get the Yami from the Black Bulls to raise his hand. He gets pretty much everybody but the Golden Dawn. But Asta still chooses Yami because of that little encounter he had earlier, because he was like, I'm just gonna say he chooses Yami, because I feel like it. No, I'm just saying he chooses Yami because that would be a little bit weird for the story if he joined a different Magic Knight squad, because we don't know what kind of, like, missions they were going on, so it wouldn't be, like, it would be a really weird story, and he wouldn't have the same teammates, or, you know, it would just be weird. You couldn't really do it all that well without pretty much making up your own entire story behind it, and I don't really feel like doing that. So he joins the Black Bulls, and obviously the bronze magic user Seke doesn't even get, like, selected, because he didn't really have a good showing throughout the entire thing, because he didn't have Asta to help out and get wrecked by in the end, but he got wrecked in the fight in the end, and he didn't really do all that well in any of the other parts. He pretty much performed averagely, and a lot of the people there didn't get anybody like raising their hand, any of the captains raising their hands for them. So Seke wouldn't either. So he's not even a magic knight in this. And so they go to the Black Knights, their base of operations, and when they do get there, Asta is first greeted with pretty much flashes of fire and lightning shooting around the entire building. And the lightning guy, looks over and he's just like, ooh, fresh meat. I wonder if I can fight him. And Finral pretty much like introduces everybody. And then Magna, he pretty much says, okay, you want this robe? And Asta's like, yeah, I do. And then Magna has him go through the whole trials that Asta had to do in the original. And he starts shooting his fireballs. Asta just kept, using his chronostasis and stopping them in their tracks. And then he uses his most powerful one, thinking that Asta wouldn't be able to match its power by just simply using a chronostasis, but Asta can, and he just uses a chronostasis and stops the fireball. And then what Asta does is he pretty much reverses it, releases the chronostasis, and sends it flying back towards Magna. And Magna is obviously damaged by this, but he's pretty impressed by this kid, and Yami is just like, it's the same magic as Julius. And he's obviously really impressed because he saw the time magic earlier, but he wasn't really confirmed what it was. But this really proved to him that, yeah, this kid is using time magic, and it's pretty much the exact same as Julius's. So this is where Noelle shows up, and she pretty much is just like, oh, you lonely commoners, and is about to use her little ball of water on them. And Asta catches it in a chronostasis and doesn't allow it to even like hit Magna. So obviously Noelle goes off to train. She's even more angry than she was before because she couldn't play it off as if she actually tried to do that. So she goes and she trains, and Asta watches this as she's trying to shoot at the target on the tree, but every single time the ball of water just kind of deflects and goes to his side. So this is where the anti-magic bird lands on Asta's head, making some leaves rustle. And now Noelle looks back, realizing that Asta is standing right there. And she, in this moment, is really embarrassed, and she loses control of her magic. And she gets pretty much flown up into the air with this massive ball of water around her, and Asta lands next to Yami. And Yami pretty much says, figure it out, kid, and he pretty much throws Asta into the air, not giving Asta time to grab his broom or anything like that. So now Asta's in the air, and he's thinking about how he's actually going to manage to take out this giant source of water. And this is where he gains a new ability. This ability is let me explain this. So a new page pretty much gets unlocked in his spiral book, and I changed my mind. Asta's getting a sword, and what this sword does is wherever it slashes, like whenever he like slashes something, that object gets either reversed or sent forward into time, kind of like his beam, except it's more of a melee weapon than anything. So he slashes the water, and it gets reversed back into time from before it was created, and Noelle falls to the ground. And they both get teleported by Finral, and Asta lands on his hands, or not on, and Asta lands, and Noelle lands on top of him. And when Noelle wakes up and she realizes that she is on top of this kid, she starts blushing, and she's just like, oh no. And then she goes back into her whole, oh, you lowly commoner, get off of me, and even though she was on him. So Yami's like, good job, kid. And that's actually not a bad voice for Yami, I'm just gonna say. That's my new voice for Yami. It's a thing now. So I'm feeling kind of sick, so that's not great. But, so pretty much everything from there on goes similarly up until where they get their first mission, which obviously isn't really a mission, more of it's Yami and Magna going gambling, losing everything, and having to give the leader of the village a favor. So they have to do him a favor, and it's to get rid of a bunch of boars. But that's where I'm going to leave this part off. So I'll see you guys in the next part of What If Asta Had Time Magic, or what if one of my other what ifs. So see you guys later. Peace out. Bye.